Rock the Ripple. Rock the Ripple. Rock the Ripple. The Rock the Ripple podcast with Narita McInnes.
Let's do this. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Rock the Ripple podcast. I'm your host, Narita McInnes. It is so awesome to be here with you as always. And as always, today is another very exciting day for many reasons. One, because not only am I going to be talking to two of my favorite people who host an incredible podcast, among many other things, it is also the 100th episode of the Rock the Ripple podcast. And who better to share it with than the one and only Tyler and Aaron from the Journey to Truth podcast. Welcome back to the show, guys. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Great to be here.
Congratulations on 100, by the way.
Oh, thank you very much. I popped the 100 cherry. How cool is that?
Yeah.
Well, you guys, I was looking at what you guys are up to, actually. I think I've written it down, 354 episodes of the Journey to Truth podcast. That is freaking amazing. How do you feel about that? Tyler, take that away.
Yeah.
I feel great, actually. And to be honest, there's actually more than that. We have a lot of other content that aren't specific episodes, but it's a lot less than other platforms because some people just pump stuff out. But I realize that one, maybe two a week at most is the best way to put out quality content and not burn yourself out. And, you know, it's really about quality over quantity and consistency. And that's kind of been the secret to our recipe for success. And we've just been, along for the ride, basically. It's pretty amazing. We're in the times we're in right now. I mean, this is why we came to this planet. This is why we're doing what we do for this exact moment. And it's not always easy. It's not always fun. Sometimes the awakening can be brutal, as we all know, but it is something that we are very proud of. And, it started off as a podcast and it's turned into documentaries and webinars and conferences now, which we have one coming up in May. We can talk about that if you want.
Yeah.
I know you're on the other side of the pond over there, but you could still get a live stream or virtual pass by any of your listeners who might want to tune into that. But it's a great feeling to have come this far. I actually can't believe that we do this full time now. And what did we start in 2019 and we're in 2025 and
early 2019. Yeah. Beginning of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And we have no
a
plans.
little over 6 years.
Back.
Yeah. I was just tuning into your last episode. I haven't finished listening to it yet with Derek and Daniel. That is so fascinating. I think if obviously if people watch you, they would have tuned into that already, or people who haven't, I'll link everything to Journey to Truth in the description. I mean, obviously you guys have the Patreon as well, which I'm a member of, and I was going to say your conferences, your documentaries. I know you're working on a documentary now as well. Is it Aaron, do you want to talk a bit about that? Because I know that one's been in the pipeline for a while.
Yeah. So we're working on a documentary dealing with the topic of the secret space program, which is a big topic. I know it can be controversial, but it's also, it's also something that we feel like hasn't been documented in this type of way enough, at all, like very little, in fact. And there's so many amazing experiencers that we feel like are very legit out there. And even beyond just SSP experiencers, there's other people that have crucial information that deals in the realm of SSP, kind of like Derek and Daniel or John Warner or Carrie Cassidy with, her knowledge. And we just kind of wanted to do our best job of making a documentary, making a compelling case for the reality, the very true reality that we feel of the secret space program. Really, it's kind of a misnomer saying secret space program as if it's just one thing. I feel like that's what a lot of people think. But it should be programs, plural, because there's many different ones. And many of them have nothing to do with each other. Some do and some don't. And there's many different levels to that, I think, as well. But that's the term that's out there, so that's what we use. But yeah, we're excited. We've been going on it for like 2 years now, almost filming for that, and we're hoping to have that wrapped up as soon as possible as far as filming, and then then we'll get to work with all the editing. And we don't really know when we're going to have it out, but we'll have it out as soon as we can, and we're very excited.
It's got to be this year. I'm like setting that goal. It has to be. I mean, the way I see it is, well, this is the year for it, for one. We would have had it done sooner, but the reality of the situation is it costs money to travel. There's time involved to do it right. And we want to we don't just want to do Zoom interviews, and we want to do our due diligence as far as like building a compelling case. And there's the approach we're taking is we're trying to reach the skeptics, make people walk away scratching their heads. Even the diehard skeptics, they can't deny what we're about to present to them. That's the whole purpose of the film. We're not going to really jump off planet too much. We're going to focus on the Earth-based side of things and the operations and the military-industrial complex, where this is hiding within the government, the shadow government, the money involved, the corporations involved, and the testimonies. We have some boots on the ground investigations. It's just it's going to be very compelling. I imagine that anyone that walks away and still doesn't believe that there's something going on, they're just deliberately choosing not to believe it because it threatens their current belief. And, so that's where we're at with that. I'm excited. I'm hoping to have, shortly after the conference, I'm hoping to have all the filming wrapped up. We just have a couple more interviews that we really want to get. And then basically it's to the editing room, and that takes some time, obviously, but and we want to release this big, like on Amazon Prime. It's going to be on the major platforms. We just did our last documentary. It was a release on YouTube, and it was free. We tried to do like a landing page with donations. It just didn't. The only way to do it properly is to just put it out there on Prime, and we tried to put our last one on Prime, but we kept running into roadblocks. I don't know what's wrong with that, but anyway, this one's going to be publicly known, and I'm hoping to get some bigger people involved when it comes time for marketing, so we can actually, reach a wider audience with it.
Wow, that is so cool. That is so cool. And I remember listening to one of your stories that you shared on the Patreon page, Tyler, with, some of that stuff. You had some crazy experiences, so you almost lost all the information. So I'm so grateful that you were able to get it. Just a weird thing with cars and things like that. So I'm grateful, and I think there's a lot of people out there very grateful that you still have that information.
Oh yeah, I learned the hard way. I was with Aaron. We had to switch rental cars. It was a whole weird thing.
That's very scary. Yeah.
I left my computer with my bag with my computer and my external hard drive, like everything, like my whole life. Journey to Truth was in that bag. And I learned that lesson. Now I have it all backed up in like a couple different locations, and I don't travel with it all together now.
It's a very risky thing to do. Yeah.
It was just overconfidence. Like you just never think, you know what I mean?
Nothing's ever happened before. You're like, oh, I'll be fine. Yeah. You just don't even think about it.
Yeah.
Nope. Not this time.
Not this
we got it back. Luckily we got it back though.
Yeah.
That could have gone the other way very easily, and we would have been all right. It would have been a big hit, but it would have sucked. But it was a hard lesson you learned either way. And luckily you got it back, and we learned not to have your entire life's work basically in a bag that you're traveling with.
Right.
That's not a smart idea, and without having at least a backup back at home.
Yeah, I think so many of us have like learned that lesson though. Like, okay, I've got to back up my computer, because you're sitting there and you're like, holy shit, it's just you can't do anything. You're like, all right, got to back it up. So glad that lesson is done and you got everything. So that's fine.
Right.
And I wanted to talk about too. There's so many things, and we'll go in whichever direction that our intuition and spirit sort of takes us, but. Aaron, I did want to talk about your book because I've finally read it.
Thank you.
And it is awesome. So, and I had to tell you, I was reading through it, and at the start, and people have like the thank yous and things like that. And usually I'll just go, I'll just flick through. And then I saw my name there. So thank you very, very much. I was like,
you're welcome. There's a lot of names in that, but So I just wanted to include everyone I could possibly think of that has supported us in any way over the years. So you're very welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you for your support.
Yeah, thank you. And I've got to say, like, I know I've heard Tyler talk about the book many times on many of your shows, but it really is an encyclopedia of just so many different things. And for people who are just starting out or who know a lot about and have listened to a lot of this stuff, there's just so much in there that people can resonate with, learn, and take from. I love the story that your partner Amanda shares. It's just beautiful. And there's so many awesome quotes in there as well that are just, they just make you think. So congratulations. I know it's a massive feat to bring a book to life. So yeah, how are you feeling about it all? Do you want to share a bit about it?
Thank you. Thank you so much for your kind words. Thank you. I was very proud of myself and happy to have to accomplish that. And I like what you said about how it's good for somebody that's new to these topics, but it's also good if you're not new. And I feel like that's the way I tried to write it. Is I wanted to try to encapsulate kind of like all of the topics that we talk about in the disclosure community or the spiritual community even, but do it in a way that, kind of shows how the big picture fits together, how it all connects, and do it in a way that somebody that's new to the subject can get up to speed on these things and at least pick their interest at the very least and get a lot out of it, but also in a way that people like us will. It's not just like, oh, I already know all this. This is very basic. It's like you'll still get a lot out of it and it'll still be interesting to you as well. So thank you. That was kind of my goal. So I'm glad I hopefully accomplished that. I took it was Jackie Kenner, who I know she did a 6-week book writing course. That's what got me to finally get that book done. I've been trying to get that book written for like 7 years. And that kind of forced me to get it done and do it well. And other people, Lily was in that. She got her book written and came out around the same time. Matthew Morney and Tony Rodriguez had a new book. He was in it. And so I want to thank Jackie, because without her, I don't know if that book it's probably still wouldn't be done. I'd probably still be going at a snail's pace. And and I'm already I just started writing book number 2.
Oh,
and
excellent.
So it's going to be kind of a sequel follow-up to that book. So
awesome.
Yeah,
I don't have a time frame yet for when that's going to be out or anything, but I'm working on it. So
I think it's a great reference book too. Like when I'm researching and I know there's certain subjects, I'll flip through and I'm like, I know Aaron wrote about this, and then sometimes I'm like, oh damn, he forgot this one, and I have to let him know.
Yeah, it doesn't have everything in there. There's too much.
Not? It's supposed to have everything.
It's supposed to have everything.
It'd be a pretty bloody big book.
Right. Well, that was one of the hardest parts of writing it, is 'cause I'm like, I'll never get this book done ever. Obviously, if I try to fit everything I know into one book, right? Or every topic in a thorough way into one book, you just can't do that, right? So I had to one of the hardest parts was picking and choosing not just what topics to include, but how deep to go in each topic and what to include in each topic, and
because each one can be endless. Hard, but
right,
each one can be endless. Yeah.
Right, exactly. I mean, each chapter of that book could be its own multiple books of its own, obviously. So, but I'm hoping to kind of pick up where I left off in book 2, and in book 2, I'm also going to go a little bit more in the route of what is the nature of reality itself. I kind of touch on that in the first book as well, but a little bit more deeper into that aspect, and the simulation that we live in kind of thing, different parallel realities and timelines, and the quantum reality of everything, and the spiritual reality of everything, kind of more into all that kind of stuff in book 2. But also I'm gonna also talk about ETs and UFOs a little bit too, and that'll actually dovetail kind of with what my book is.
I'm gonna jump into that, beautiful. Tyler, because you're writing one as well too. So I mean,
Tyler is writing his.
Yeah.
It's in the editing process now, which still means I'm still like in the edit rewrite process. You know what I mean? Like, but it's coming along. I would say about 50% of the way through that process. I've been working on it a lot. It's something I'm taking pride in. You know, every page is like an art form to me. It just has to flow and dance and be perfect. But it's my story. It's really hard to explain. It's a very quantum book, meaning like bridge many different versions of me and my life, and like the whole kind of like the awakening, and like the key moments that I think people want to hear about, but not just my story, what I learned from it. So it's like partially my story, partially corroborating research, what I learned, but it's all like I'm trying to do it like a art form in a way. It's kind of interesting, and it's a 3-part book, and part 2 is going to really get into what I call tales from another timeline. So I have all these memories from other like programs and other lives and stuff. A lot of them I have never told. I've just written them down, and some of them are in very great detail. And so part 2 of the book is going to go into a lot of the memories, a lot of the stuff people were like, were you in the programs? Do you have memories? Like if they ever had any of those questions that they wanted answered, it's going to be answered in the book. And then part 3 really brings it home with like this hero's journey story of what I've experienced, and like kind of like the nature of reality, but and then I don't know. It's just a very unique way I'm approaching it, but it's a 3-part book with like an interlude. I mean, it's all kinds of, it's like, it's not just your standard pick it up and read, you know. It's going to be pretty cool.
It's going to be an intense book.
Yeah. Oh, I can't wait for it. I'm sure there's like heaps of people just sitting on the edge of their seat waiting for this one too. You know, it's just going to be awesome.
I've been waiting for your book ever since I met you. I feel like. Right. Or since I first heard your amazing experiences and your story, right. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I can't wait till you write a book. And you know, here we are, and finally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never thought I thought you would always be first getting yours out, and I never thought I'd beat you to it.
Well, I'm trying very hard not to phone it in and just throw out a book. Like this is something that, you know, I'm putting my heart and soul into, and whether it's successful or not isn't even important to me. It's just more of like a me thing.
Yeah.
You know, I would love people to love it and read it and whatever. But it's something that it's just a major accomplishment for me. I can't wait to be done, to be honest. It's a very tedious process, strenuous process to write a book and edit it. So, but there's some pretty amazing stuff. And when I read back through it, even my editor, you know, she keeps telling me, she's like, you know, you're really sitting on something here. This is going to be good, you know? So, and it's just, I don't know. I can't wait to get it out. When I read it, I even like, there's a lot of trauma. There's a lot of traumatic events that I share in the book too. So there was some crying during the process. I had to put it down and come back to it. And yeah. So I'm still in the process of that, but I'm also like, it's a very ambitious effort to try and explain the multidimensional aspect of our reality. Kind of like, you know, it will probably dovetail perfectly, which doesn't surprise me at all. Cause the reason that you and I are even doing this is because we're on the same page, you know? So,
right. It's funny. And I was not planning. I was not even like thinking about that when I decided. So
it doesn't matter. It's good. Trust me when I say it's good. It's not going to be anything I know what you're going to do, and I know it's like what I'm doing is different. It's not going to be the same.
Yeah.
But like you said, it'll still dovetail very nicely to kind of like complement, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I feel like
absolutely.
It might my next book and your book might be being released roughly around the same time, so that'll kind of be like, you know,
how cool.
Nice little pair there.
Well, my goal is to have it out by the conference, so maybe not. Like,
that's May, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, if I can get mine done that quick,
yeah,
we'll see.
Oh, that'll be amazing if you could get it done by then, Tyler. Like, I mean, and that's the thing, like, obviously you guys would feel this too. You trust the timing. So whenever it's supposed to come out, you know that that's the perfect time for it. And I know as well, like, Tyler, with your experiences, I know that that's something that a lot of people love to hear about. And so the fact that you're writing about those, and you have shared quite a lot in a lot of your different interviews and things like that. Is there anything that you want to share that maybe you want to talk about today?
Oh man, you know, it's been a minute since anyone's asked me to share like specific things, like experiences. Now off the top of my head, there's so many things I could talk about, but I'm kind of on the spot right now and I'm blanking. But
put you right on the spot.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
you've had like that's the thing I think too. Like, I mean, obviously, you guys, what I love about your show is you go through so many different topics. I've learned so much from you guys. I think I said last time when you were on the show, like, you guys have been in my ears on so many different walks and through so many different times in my life. Like, we all have our ups and downs, and I'm like, oh, put Tyler and Aaron on. I know they'll have something good to say, and it always comes through, and that's what I love about your show. And I think I'm speaking for so many people when I say that as well too. And it's not even, it's just like that comfort sometimes, and it's just hearing the familiar voices of people who see what's going on in the world and exploring as well, and understanding that we don't know everything. Like, how can we possibly, like, the more we know, the more we realize we don't know. But there's just so much that you're bringing to the table, and I love that about what you do. And so I mean, I've even got this one here, Tyler. This is the book, wasn't it, that you
Nice.
said last time? And I think I remember, like, so I started reading. It's only very little, and I remember because obviously the Adjustment Bureau, and I remember I was reading it, and I'm like, I'm getting really anxious. And then about halfway through the book, I mean, it's only very little, but I remember you said, Tyler, it's one of those ones maybe don't read at night when you're trying to fall asleep, even though it's not like, it's not scary or anything, but there's something in it. Like, what is that?
A little creepy.
Yeah.
A little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Philip K. Dick. Yeah, Tyler gave me that book. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's just a short story, like 50 something pages, I think. I don't remember. But it's a lot, and I can see why they made it into a movie. But he's an interesting character in general, why they like all of his movies all of his short stories turned into disclosure movies. And I don't think that's by accident by any stretch of the imagination. So
yeah, and he even said the inspiration and all of his stories were like downloaded to him by some extraterrestrial kind of force. He doesn't really know what, but he claims he was like getting these downloads, and they were just coming to him, and that's where all these stories, so-called fictional stories, which, as we know, are not fiction at all. So, and this is back in what, the 50s and 60s when he was writing these. So
yeah, that's what's
way
even more impressive,
before any of this information was out there at all, really. Sci-fi was just pretty much getting going in general. So very interesting.
It's so interesting. And I mean, what are you guys like most excited about at the moment that you're working on or that you're bringing to life? Like, I mean, you've always got stuff on. You've got amazing guests. I can't wait to, like, I'm talking to you now, but I can't wait to keep listening to the other one I was just listening to with Derek and Daniel. Like, that is just so fascinating. Like, and you've had so many experiences. Yeah, like what are you really excited about at the moment? Or is it just bringing the book to life, the conference coming up, all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, basically that. I think so.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited so I'm really trying to, I have a lot of moving parts in my life right now, but I'm really trying to get the book done so I can just have that off my plate. So then I can focus on the documentary and the conference and like get it back down to like one project at a time. It's kind of hard to be spread so thin. That's why we kind of been neglecting the Patreon, and I admit a lot of that's my fault. Well, when I was ready, Aaron was in the middle of something, and vice versa. So, and it's just a transitional phase for us. And I promise to the audience we'll get back to that. But it really, I mean, Aaron, you wrote a book. Like, whenever you put your energy into something like that, it's like there's hardly anything else. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I had like no energy for anything else other than our show, basically.
Right.
During that time, and I think I still did a few other little interview things, but like I couldn't have like done any other project during that 6 or 7 week period that I did the book. Like, it was like all consuming. That's all I could pour all my energy. But at the same time, it's worth it because it's like the product is is worth all the energy and the effort by far.
Yeah, that's the thing.
It's hard to do multiple things at once whenever you're doing something that intense. You kind of have to just focus all of your energy on that thing until it's done.
I think for me though, the most exciting thing for me about writing my book is actually like it's healing for one, but the revelation of like time travel and the quantum field and quantum entanglement and all the quantum stuff, right? Quantum physics, mechanics. It's all very fascinating to me. And as I'm writing, it's like I'm almost downloading more stuff about it. And like these revelations are coming to me. And it's super exciting to me because, we can only talk about this disclosure and all these topics so many times before it's time to branch out into like, what else is there? What else is there? And like the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics is what else? Like we're talking about an infinite number of realities with an infinite possibilities and probabilities. I mean, it's just endless. And to think that we can tap into those versions of ourselves and then we can start to actually have memory, like bleed through memory of those versions of ourselves and start to paint a picture of like what is actually going on and realizing that the shadow government and these clandestine groups have had knowledge of this the whole time, and they have technologies to traverse these dimensions, communicate with them, swap assets through portals into other realities and dimensions. I'm talking like, secret space programs that exist in an entirely different dimension, and things that we don't even consider when we're talking about a black budget program. This is a temporal war. I mean, there's something. We interviewed Dan Cooper, and he's talking about TMC, Temporal Management Command, a group of Navy men who literally are time travelers that go back and correct timeline deviations, and they have to make these nudges because all these Mandela effects are being created, and it's like a war for time tech, and all these organizations, they're trying to get their hands on the best, the latest and greatest tech, and it's just like once you start understanding that aspect of everything and the fact that these timelines are shifting globally and we can see it and they're splitting and like collapsing and merging, it's like, wow, this is something that we can't even, like, we're just starting to talk about, but everyone's talking about it. Like it's coming to the collective, but understanding it is a whole different thing. For the longest time, like I remember my dad specifically saying, and then we would always do these episodes talking about timelines and timeline shifts, and it was just like wasn't registering at first. But you hear it over and over and over. And next thing you know, it's just like timeline is a common term. Now it's like, well, before we never knew what another timeline was. Now we very clearly understand that there's multiple timelines or multiple realities and ways to access them and communicate and remote viewing and by location. It's all possible.
Oh, and I love how you just talk that out. And that's one thing you explain things so well. So especially for people who might not sort of get these things, that it just flows through. And that's the thing. We live in this reality, but what actually is it, and what is going on? And you talk about the Mandela effect, you talk about timelines, and inner Earth, space, like, and there's just so much that we don't know. And it's so exciting to be in this time to be able to be explorers and be uncovering it, and remembering who we are at the same time, and then remembering how powerful we are at the same time too, and that we are creators and that we've got the ability to do all of this stuff ourselves. And coming back to that too, do you feel that that's a huge part of it as well?
The fact that, yeah, I would absolutely agree. But Aaron, you can take that one if you'd like. Or
yeah,
not.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I'll take it. Yeah, I mean, it's there's all this technology, right? And that's amazing. And there's these secret programs with this advanced technology, and there's ETs with the technology and blah, blah, blah. But like, I think what we forget a lot of times is like the most advanced technology is your own body and your own consciousness. That blows everything else out of the water, in my opinion. And if we can learn to tap into that, and the more, just naturally, the more we wake up and raise our consciousness and get in our true authentic frequency, the more naturally these abilities and these things will start to come online, our psychic abilities. And also I think, in terms of like, you could say there's an infinite number of timelines. So for to keep it simple, parallel realities, possibilities. That's like the quantum reality we live in, right? And things like the double slit experiment prove that it's all existing since time doesn't actually exist objectively, it's really just an experience. Everything is happening in the eternal now. So what your consciousness is what locks in a specific now moment into what you experience as your current reality. But you're the one that gets to ultimately determine which one gets locked in, right? So it's a little bit more complicated than a lot of like new age people make it, where it's like, oh, I create my own reality and I can just bypass everything and it doesn't matter. I don't have to look at anything negative. And it's like, well, no, because it doesn't work that way for, I mean, multiple reasons, but just one is like, okay, you're on a planet with a group of a species that you're in and a group of other beings that you have to still coexist with. And so we're all co-creating together on one level, but then you're also individually creating, so to speak, within that co-creation. So, and we're all affecting each other. Everything is affecting everything else all the time. And going even back, your present decisions and what you do in the present actually affects backwards in time, which is mind-boggling for us to think about. And it affects forwards in time as well. So it's not even just affecting everyone else in the present time. It's everything is affecting everything else throughout past and future. And it's, it gets to a point where it's like our 3D minds can't even really can't comprehend or wrap around, but we do the best we can. But all it is to say is that like you really are you're way more powerful than you've been led to believe, both intentionally and unintentionally, by people that just don't know any better. But at the highest level of the system, it is intentional, and this has all been designed to keep us enslaved and not aware of who we really are, the true nature of reality, and keep us in this Truman Show fake matrix to keep us feeding that system that benefits this tiny few that are these very like service to self beings ultimately, and ultimately goes beyond human. There's ETs and non-human entities that are running the matrix, so to speak. But I do believe that this awakening that is going on, I think it's a point in the timeline of the planet at this point in time. It does seem to be a convergence of multiple cycles where it's like a crucial point in time where it's either make or break. It's like the planet's either going to completely get destroyed, humanity's going to completely get wiped out, or we're going to ascend, or we're going to move up to the next level and awaken, right? And turn this planet into a beautiful planet and our species into what we were always meant to be. And you can kind of see these two things playing out right now, right? Where you see a whole bunch of people awakening and, becoming more loving, or awakening to all these dark truths and taking their power back from the system, right? And all these things. But then you also see the opposite of that, right? Where people are getting more in fear, more ingrained in the system, more brainwashed and mind controlled, more volatile and lashing out and angry and anxious and depressed and all the rest of it, right? So it's almost like there are two kind of separate timelines, and everyone's being allowed to make their own choice because we all have free will at the end of the day. And it's like, okay, you can have that experience if that's your choice. And, based on where you're at in your soul's evolution, some people need that experience, and that's going to be, a really, really hard experience for them to go down that route. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's going to be for their soul's growth, and that's what they need. And it's not our job to save those people. We can do whatever we can to plant seeds and to help if they can kind of meet us halfway. But if someone doesn't want to awaken and is like putting up walls, you need to just let them be, because that's their choice. And you need to dust off your feet and move on, and not be around people that are going to be bringing your vibration down, because that's going to negatively impact you. I mean, we need to be in the world still, but not like, you need to try to surround yourself with mostly people that are uplifting and are gonna, have more of like an understanding and unconditional love.
I would say, first of all, it was beautifully said, but I would say it's like a balancing act. You know?
Right.
The way we have to like navigate this reality once we're aware. because we understand that we're still part of it, and we have to do things that are very matrixy. Like you got to do all the 3D stuff still. You got to pay the bills and whatever, fill up your car. It doesn't matter. Like we have to still participate in the program, but you can also be aware of this other of the other possibilities and these other realities. And you broke it down beautifully, Aaron. It's like walking a fine line. And I just think that it's, well, go ahead.
Thank you. Well, I wouldn't say you have to. I mean, to a certain degree, we're born into it and you exist in it. But I would say becoming aware is step one. And that's like half the battle right there, is like realizing the system you're in and that it is a program. And the only reason it does exist in the first place is because we've actually unconsciously created it. And yeah, maybe we've been steered into creating it by forces that took advantage of our unconsciousness into creating this whole system, but we still are the ones that created it. So that means if you wake up and you take your power back and you start consciously creating, you can start putting, even though you can still stay, that doesn't mean you need to quit your job immediately or, go off grid immediately or whatever, you can still stay in it, but put your energy consciously towards whatever your heart really wants to create and start focusing most of your energy there. If you focus most of your energy on fighting the system and on the system itself, all you're actually doing is feeding more into the system because that's what the system wants. It wants you it tries to bait you into either like putting all your energy fighting it or putting all your energy into supporting it. But either way, you're feeding into it. And then it plays both sides off each other. Kind of, you see that with like the political and with different divide and conquer tactics, right? But it all feeds into the system. And then they do problem, reaction, solution. They know how to set you up to like, oh, now you just created the perfect problem for us to come up with a solution to implement this and do this thing, right? So when you take your power back, you can see all this stuff and you're like, oh, I see this is all like an energy harvesting machine that I've been born into. And now I can start taking my power back and putting my energy and consciously start creating what I want to create rather than just what the system has given to me to here's your options to like feed into to put your energy. And it's all just feeding into that. Like you can work this job or this job or this job or this job. It's like, okay, well, what if I don't want to do any of those things because none of them feed my soul and really make me, bring me joy? Like, what if I want to do that? Oh, well, you can't make money doing that. That's what you'll be told. Like, you can't do that by all kinds of people. Well, that's bullshit. You can do whatever you want. Now, that being said, you still need to go about things the right way. And, you can like work towards that thing while still seeing, it's all about the end of the day. Like even being in the matrix, even though it's like, you could say it's a negative thing, you can see the positive growth that comes from it as well. And you could be like, well, look at the lessons I'm learning and look at the growth that's happening from me existing in this system or at this job or at this whatever. In this city that I don't want to be in or whatever. Like it's still a positive thing at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But it's just a matter of becoming conscious and raising your consciousness. And then you're able to like, oh, now I know who I am. Now I know what I want. Now I can actually direct my energy. I have a direction to put my energy that is like consciously creating rather than unconsciously just not even realizing I have a choice other than what I'm handed, right? Which is what, and the last however many thousands of years, that's kind of what most of humanity has been stuck in this rut of like not even realizing there is anything outside of the Truman Show reality, outside of the Matrix, right? They would just think this is, and even to the point of like, oh, this one life is all there is, and that's it. Not realizing your soul is like this much greater thing that you've had many past lives and you'll continue to have many future, and you exist outside of even physical incarnations, right? That's the real you. This is just an temporary experience. The real you is having the consciousness behind, everything. So that's what, we're all waking up to. And that's the greatest, that's above all of the BS that's thrown at us. So that's what they fear the most, is us tapping into that, our true power, because then it's game over. And that's what's happening now. And that's why they're freaking out. And you can see everything.
I think you just channeled book 2. You better transcribe this episode.
Thank you.
Right, and the whole thing is designed designed to distract you, right? And as soon as like this is like my personal journey, I've been at the receiving end of a lot of psychic attacks and astral attacks, and it was a very rough, dark path, and I chose that on a higher level because it's all training, and I've it's like mastery, self-mastery. You learn how to navigate and understand. For one, you can only truly understand something and gain wisdom through experience, right? It can't be taught. So I've had to go through the fire, right? And still, like, and there's times when it's tough, but I ultimately understand that it was, serving a higher purpose, and it's making me into somebody like very powerful in the sense that not like power hungry, but powerful in the sense that I can like now like stand on my own, and I don't have to rely on like I don't have to live in fear and whatever. But what I will say is the reason that happens is because when people are about to break programming, there are teams, you could even say, in place, entities, agencies, whatever. They know who's who and they know who's coming online, and they will send in reinforcements to keep the lid on you, you know what I mean? To keep you at bay whenever you're about to break free. And they'll do that in the guise of sending in the wrong partner into your life. It might be a business opportunity that is great financially, but it's going to lock you into the matrix. It may be just as simple as you're a targeted individual and you're literally being attacked in bed every night by these demons. It doesn't matter. It's whatever they need to do to keep you in that lower frequency. So we're constantly tempted every day with lower timeline choices. Always. Every day you wake up, you can choose 8 different timelines in one day. Like, it just depends on how like you decide to live your day. And you have to get to this baseline where the lower temptations, those lower timelines, they don't even tempt you anymore. You see them and like, nope, not me. Nope, nice try.
Right.
Don't, forget it, because it just, you're so above that, it's just laughable. But there was a time in your life when you would have woken up and did this instead of that. And you would have talked to this person and hung out with them instead of this person, whatever it is. And you're choosing that lower timeline, whether it be consciously or subconsciously, but it's keeping you in that lower vibration. And you could say it's random. You could say it's all divinely orchestrated, and it probably is, but it's also, you can also accelerate that process of awakening if you're consciously aware that you are making a choice that isn't serving your highest and greatest good. So by just choosing something as simple as what you decide to eat for your next meal, like, like, man, that ice cream really looks good, and that burger or whatever, but it's going to like lower your frequency and whatever. There's chemicals and toxins in it, and it could just like create this ripple effect that may seem insignificant, but it's essentially the lower timeline, the lower version of yourself. You could have made a different decision and eaten something different that would have made you high vibe, and maybe that evening you would have had this amazing meditation and connected with your spirit guides or whatever. And it's just as simple as what you chose to eat for dinner. And I would even say, like, those thoughts, those temptations about even your cravings might not even be your own. So you have to learn how to determine which thoughts are your own. And then when they are your own, you have to ask yourself why you even want that thing. And then maybe there's something within you that needs to be healed. So it's not, like I said earlier, it's like the awakening isn't easy. You're constantly tested every day. And yeah, you do get to a point where like you're just no longer that other person anymore who's like aimlessly walking through the matrix. But you can become stagnant if you don't do anything. You can't, you can just be, and that's fine, but where's the growth in that? And, life begins outside your comfort zone. So you have to challenge yourself and do things sometimes that you don't even want to do. But at the end, it's very rewarding. You're like, man, I'm so glad I decided to do that, because ultimately it's fear that's holding you back from everything. And it's just amazing. Like, it's amazing to start having that self-awareness and approaching life through that lens, because it really does allow you to create your own reality at that point and become abundant and create abundance too, which has nothing to do with money. It's all an energy exchange. Money is a result from that. It's a byproduct from creating your own abundance. But it doesn't start with money. If your primary goal is money, then your intention's wrong to begin with. So I mean, I realize I'm rambling now, and you haven't asked us or said anything in a minute now. So
Right, we both
No, I'm loving
went on
it.
ramble.
No, yeah, no, I'm absolutely loving it, and you're speaking to my heart because it's all the stuff that I talk about as well too, and it's great to hear it because we are here like these challenges, these things. Like even when you were saying when the example of the food, like before you said that, I was like, yeah, it would be. I was going to say it's the food that you choose to eat each day, and like are those thoughts yours? And it can be so nuanced and so tiny, these little things that come in to try and stop you from living your ultimate. And I think, to be aware of that is so important. And also, like you were talking about, the courage that it takes, or, coming out of the comfort zone. I heard something really awesome the other day. It's in a song. Another lady was talking about it. Was just saying, fear is, I'm paraphrasing, but it's fear is courage waiting to be seen. Fear is courage waiting to be seen. And I just thought that was so powerful because obviously, it takes courage to walk this path. It takes courage to go on this awakening journey. And the awakening journey begins within. Like everything starts there. So when we're trying, when we're living our lives and we're taking the steps each day to be more of who we really are, that is like we're walking in two worlds as well. Like we know what's going on. When I say we know, we have an understanding of a bigger picture, but what it is could be totally different to what even we're thinking it is. But still, we're walking in these two worlds, having this understanding and going, okay, what timeline do I want to be living on? What version of myself do I want to be living? Like ultimately, we want to live our best version. We want to create a world that is thriving. And so in order to do that, we need to thrive and follow our heart and our passion. And that's what you guys are doing. That's what we're all talking about here is like when we do that, that is what shifts consciousness. And it's actually really simple, but it doesn't mean that it's easy, right?
Right. It's
Right.
not easy. It's not easy, especially when you're really trying to take it to the next level. Then you're still going to feel there's going to be pushback from some external force. And maybe it's even yourself that's holding you back. But still, like something I've been doing recently, I'm trying to do like fast for 1 day a week. Just and then what it's telling me, I realized today because I'm doing a fast today. What I realized is um it's actually telling me what I'm addicted to. And it might be something so simple as like, caffeine or sugar, whatever. I'm not like it'll tell you where your vices are, what's
Mm,
serving you and what isn't, because you'll notice what you really start craving and like fiending for when you do that fast. And it's just something like one little tool that anyone listening can do, and it'll help you, okay, like identify the issues. All right, well, okay, well, why am I like why do I need that right now? That means I'm addicted to it. Do I have parasites? Maybe I should do a parasite cleanse. It's interesting. It helps you like evaluate where you are when you do
yeah.
something like that.
Yeah. So how long have you been doing the fast? So you're doing 1 day a week, and do you have just water or what do you have?
It's always different. There's nothing strict about it. Most of the time, it'll be like sometimes if I haven't done it in a minute, it'll just be like a food, like just solids. I'll do a liquid diet, but I'll just
Mm,
fast off of solids, which is fine, but then sometimes I'll just straight up try to go for it and do water, which is really hard. But I've done it. You get past the hump and the hunger cravings and your body starts feeding off itself and healing itself. And
yeah.
um, but it all depends on what I have going on that day too. Like if I have an interview or whatever, like I might need some sort of nutrients in the form of like a smoothie or something just to, whatever it is. But like if you just consciously try to set a day aside where like, you know what, I'm not going to eat breakfast or lunch or dinner today. I'm going to like deprave myself and see what happens.
Mm, yeah. Well, that's good. It's like a declutter, really. Like I know
Right.
I've done longer detoxes before, and I know how amazing and clear you feel, but I think like that's also not a sustainable thing too, you can do it at regular times, but to do 1 day a week sounds like a really good place to start for people too. Or even, a lot of people do the intermittent fasting and things like that. But you got to work out what's good for you too, don't you? Like
Right.
it's like an experiment. If it was just a push a button and everyone's the same, but it's not. Our bodies are
Yeah.
different, how our energy levels, men, women, like all that sort of stuff. It all plays into it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
It's like a workout plan, like the same workout isn't going to work for your neighbor. You know, everybody has a specific workout, everybody has a specific diet. So
Yeah.
what works for you might not work for someone else.
Yeah. And that's pretty much, I mean, that's the thing across the board too. Like, you know, going back to your book, even Tyler, like you've talked about how that's been quite a healing thing. Like I talk a lot about healing and things like that too. It's a personal journey and it's not the same for everyone. And I think that's important too, because our self-development, our healing and awakening process is, while we can have similar feelings, like what works for us can be so different. And I know you guys have done lots of different healing experiences and things too, like working with amazing practitioners that can help with things, because we can't do it all on our own. And like we might like to think sometimes that we can do it on our own and like, yeah, I got this, but you know, the people in our lives are there to help us grow and support us. And, you know, sometimes we do have a session like with someone, like there's something bugging me here. I don't know why I keep hitting this roadblock and I can't see it. Like, have you guys had those experiences too, where you work with someone, they're like, well, actually, what I can see here is this, or they just ask a question that makes you go, man, I just didn't even think of it that way. And it's so simple, but it just drops, you know?
Yeah. I think that happens in life with all of us, really. Like, yeah, it takes somebody else to see, you know, outside looking in, you can always see the problem. But when you're in it, like, you never know you're under a spell until you're not under a spell, right? Like when you're in it, you just don't, the blinders are on. And sometimes you'll get to a point where you hit rock bottom and you identify it. But we're on this planet to help each other. And that's what we have to remember. Like you gotta ask for help sometimes. You cannot be stubborn and arrogant. Like you got to book a session, spend the money, have the people, they're coming online. These gifts and abilities are amazing. And if you've drawn to a person, there's probably a reason for it. And they might have just one thing that you need to get you over that hump to the next chapter of your life. So, I mean, absolutely, that happens a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. And even on your show, I know you've spoken to so many different people that have these gifts and these abilities to tap in and just be able to do that. And I think it's just so important to just be aware of that and just know, like, yes, we are powerful. We're powerful for each other. We're here helping each other. And that's the thing that you guys do too. Like you're reaching so many people and switching on so many lights for people. And I think that's what we're doing for each other. And you can feel it. You know, you can feel it when someone's listening to what you guys are saying, this conversation, another conversation, like that is creating ripple effects that are spreading wider than we can ever imagine. Like, and I always say that, but it can't be underestimated, I think. Do you guys feel that as well?
Go ahead, Aaron.
Yeah. Sorry, I forgot to say a name.
It's all good. Thank you so much. But yeah, and it's amazing. It's such a blessing to be able to do this, and it just goes out there to the world, and we don't even know how the universe is going to be using it to affect others, and how it might help, you know, people that we have no idea until they message us. Every once in a while, we do get messages, and it's so amazing to get those where they're like, "Wow, this episode or this thing you guys said or this, you know, thing you talked about helped me so much," or you know, this light bulb went off and it was like, you know, this huge aha moment or whatever it may be, or helped me get through this hard time, or you know, it's incredible. But it's also, you know, we started Journey to Truth just to be a part of this movement and a part of everything, you know, and to join the conversation and to have a creative outlet to do that and to get our thoughts out and to bring on the amazing people that we've met and have them be guests on the show and kind of also showcase them to the world, you know, or people that are already out there to just, you know, it's just amazing to connect with on the show. And then, you know, we didn't have any like aspirations of like, we're going to do this as a job, you know, we never thought, we were just having fun. And I think when I think back, I'm like, that's the key. That's it. We were in that flow state in the present, having fun, connecting, doing what we love to do, you know, and really you can almost simplify everything down to that is like, you're being the authentic you, doing authentically what you love to do. And the universe, if you're truly in that state, the universe is going to reward you, and it's going to like lead you in the right direction if you just keep following that. And that's kind of what happened. We just kind of like, it just kind of kept snowballing, and the universe kept bringing us more and more things, and building, the show kept growing. And then we're doing conferences. Oh my God, this is amazing. We're doing conferences now, oh, now we're doing documentaries. This is amazing, and it just kind of snowballed until, we're at where we're at now, and we couldn't be more blessed or excited about it.
Yeah.
I'm grateful.
Yeah, I would agree that was the most amazing part about it. It was purely for the passion. It was fun, but I would say it was more of a passion. I genuinely wanted to be a part of this movement that was changing my life. And there was, when I say we had no expectations, I mean that from the bottom of my heart. It was just like a weekly thing. There was no future. I wasn't even looking ahead, because I genuinely didn't think that the podcast was going to be what we were going to do. You know what I mean? Like it was just this fun thing. Like, yeah, why not? And I don't even know what happened, to be honest. Like looking back, when you were telling it, just saying that, Aaron, I was just like kind of reminiscing, thinking about like how I was still working a full-time job, and I would like rush home from work. Yeah, home from work and like try to like do this interview, and we had no idea what we were doing, all these tech issues and whatever. And
no idea.
But it was like it was so rewarding, not only for the guests, but ultimately I think it was more rewarding for us, in the sense that it was healing too, in a way, because what it does is we can listen to an interview and then turn it off and go back about our lives, and we blank slate ourselves. We get distracted. Next thing you know, we're focused on this and that, and we forgot what we just heard. But when you have to do it every week, you're reminding yourself every single week. It's like a constant reminder that this is real. This isn't just some conspiracy theory. Like this is an actual global movement, and the planet is changing. We are ascending. But you have to have that conversation every week with somebody. You have to remind yourself. It is like a form of self-discipline, but we didn't even realize that's what was happening until I look back. I'm like, man, if we didn't have this conversation every week, where would I be right now? I might have, taken that job opportunity and had to, put it all down and then forget about it, so who knows?
Right. And it was almost like, because we just kind of made the decision at the beginning to do it once a week. And to be honest, I don't even recall like why we so quickly made that decision. We just felt like, we're going to do this once a week. Yeah. And also the fact that there was two of us, because I think I've seen a lot of shows and things where it's just one person, especially, and they don't have that other accountability partner. It's just them doing everything. And it's way easier to get burnt out when you're the one doing everything. And two, you don't have that other person to kind of keep you accountable to like, hey, let's do this once a week or once every however often.
Right.
And then I'll see them do a show, like they might do it once a week or once every other week for like a couple months or a few months. And then I'll see them just kind of like stop doing it. And I don't know if, that life gets busy or whatever, or they just lose the passion or whatever. And then they'll kind of like start back up again later. I've seen that happen, or I'll see them just like a show run for a while and then stops and fizzles out. And I think it was just the fact that we set that once a week and stayed consistent with it and had each other to keep each other accountable. And we're just like having fun doing it. Because if we weren't having fun, obviously we would have stopped a long time ago. We would have been like, all right, let's do something else. But we were having so much fun, and it was like you said, a passion. And we were so amazed at the amazing people we were like finding, and that were agreeing to come on the show. I mean, there was so many people early on that I was blown away that we were able to get on the show. Like Laura Eisenhower, super early on. I remember I was so excited. Jason quit because I was a huge fan of his. When we got him on the show, I remember Peter Maxwell Slattery, like James Gilliland back then. Allison Coe, like all these people. John D'Souza. I was just like, holy crap, Clifford Mahooty.
Yeah.
I was just like, how did we get this person on the show? This is so amazing. I was so excited, and I feel like that just kind of helped us keep going and building that.
Yeah,
So,
let me interject really quick just because you're making a great point right now. It was so exciting to get all those people on, like you said, and it was like, well, holy cow. And then like we're at a point now where like they're just like your phone cat like your contact list in your phone.
yeah,
Like
right.
like you know what I mean? It's like no, just
Now
like
you just like
all
text
people,
them.
it was like so unreachable at one point, and then now they're just in your phone. It's so it's kind of weird to think about it like that. But then you realize like
Right.
they're
We've
like
made
I
friends.
was
Many of them are
yeah.
best friends now. Yeah, it's amazing.
But also, it said a lot about where we were because we were like new to this, and there was still, admittedly, like I held some of these people on a pedestal in a way because they changed my life in so many ways, and there was this celebrity status, like excitement when we got to talk to some of these people. But then once you get to talk to them and you're off camera and you're becoming friends with them, you realize that they're no different than you are. And we're all in this together, and it's like,
Mm.
oh, like, and then you start getting deprogramming from that celebrity like idolization thing, and you realize, oh, this is just like there's nobody really above anybody else. And you could see the people that think they are still, and that's where they're at in life on their journey, whatever. But it's kind of amazing to see like, oh, these are just real people. At one point, I was like,
Yeah.
wow, like, look, man, look at that
They're just
whistleblower, whatever.
normal,
Yeah,
real normal people, but they just happen to either have amazing experiences or amazing information. But at the end of the day, we all do, actually.
Yeah.
We all
Mhm.
have amazing stuff to share with the world. It's just a matter of doing it, and
Yeah,
then, people happen to build followings and get popular, but like that doesn't that doesn't make them on this, we tend to put people on pedestals and celebrity, status of, and then you realize like, oh, that's all just like a perception.
Yeah.
And like we're all that amazing. Really, at the end of the day, we're all that amazing,
right.
Yeah.
um so yeah.
Yeah. No, that is
But
so cool. No, that is
so
so
we're blessed to be able to do this, and that's why like it's still weird to me like being out in, I don't get recognized out in public normally, but when I go to a conference or something in this community, people go, "Oh my God, Aaron, you're trying to true." And I was just like, "Wait, what?" It's still like weird. Yeah, I'm just like a normal person. I'm still not used to that, but you know, now I know how those people that I are like, oh, I was excited about, and they're probably just like, oh yeah, it's like I'm just a
Right.
normal person like you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. That's it. And that's the thing. We're all here. We're all here to support each other. And it's so good that
Mhm.
you guys just started out and go, yep. And because that's the passion. You follow that, and you were having fun. You didn't have expectations. You weren't having like an attachment to this thing either. And I think that's what's so beautiful about it. And you guys are obviously meant to work together in this time. Like it's so bloody obvious. And to be able to just, you balance it so well in the conversations as well too, and you bring different flavors to every interview, and it's so good. And now you've got this conference coming up where you're bringing more people together, and I know that you're mixing it up. I think this is the last time you're hosting it at this place. Is that right?
For
Um,
now, yeah, yeah. So
For now.
we've done 3 years there. This will be our fourth year, and
Mhm.
I feel it. One day we'll do a reunion conference there, come
yeah.
back where it all started. But we're gonna branch out and go other places. Next up in 2026 is Hawaii. We've announced that, so we're gonna do a
Excellent.
Hawaii retreat / conference. It's gonna be a different format, swimming with the dolphins, visiting some ancient sites. It's going to be fun. We're trying to. I also want to break away from the classroom style setting of the conferences,
Mm,
which they had its place, but I think it's time for like I say, even in politics, we're going from the like political theater to actionable change. Well, we're going from from the classroom style setting to actionable change with our events, like get people moving and visiting places and swimming in the water and
Mhm.
activations. Like it's time to put in the work. We did the information part of this movement. So that's what I'm excited about. But yeah, if anyone's interested, May 12th through the 15th in Grafton, Illinois, it's just on the border of St. Louis, Missouri. It's like an hour from St. Louis. People think it's up by Chicago, but um,
It's St.
it
Louis, yeah.
yeah, it's a beautiful venue, and we encourage everyone to come out. We have a blast there. It is a stunning venue. It is just in nature. Everything about it is just a place you would want to vacation anyway if there wasn't a conference. It's a great getaway. You can camp. We do bonfires every night, sky watches. But if you can't make it in person, a live stream pass is available. That is a very professional live stream. The guy we work with is incredible. The conference does not happen without him. So if you want to tune in that way, it's worth your money. It's very professional. You can get in the chat on Telegram, and it's a high quality, and you get you do get the replay and all that stuff. So it's kind of cool. And we try to be interactive with it, but it's really hard to, be interactive in person and on the chat. So it's a blast. Journey to truth.online is where you can find all that information.
Yeah, absolutely. I've done the live one before too, and that's the beauty of being able to do that. And I'm sure, hopefully I know I'll meet you guys in person one day. Hopefully it's Hawaii. That sounds amazing. But for people who can't get there, live is amazing as well too. And that's the beauty of technology. And, it's brought us together. It's brought so many people together. So you got to love the tech for that. You wouldn't change it, would you? So yeah, that's so exciting. So, I mean, you guys are awesome. Is there anything else on your heart that you want to share about before we wrap up today?
There was something I was going to say to what Aaron was saying earlier about meeting people in person, like doing this and then meeting somebody that you've watched or whatever. There's been, unfortunately, people that we've met that we've been let down by as well, that turn out to be an asshole or somebody who is definitely not living in integrity.
Not an integrity that
with
you don't
the message.
realize. So you see the behind the scenes them, and they're like, oh, yeah.
And it's heartbreaking. It's genuinely heartbreaking. And there is like a dark night of the soul that comes with that realization. And that's been one of the primary reasons that I still keep doing this, is because I want to show people that not everyone's like that. Because not only us, a number of people have been let down by certain influencers, right? So whenever people meet us, like it's the same, you're getting the same person every time, and it's really important to me, like, to be that voice of reason and then just be that solid community figure for anyone who might need that, and just to show them that, look, at this isn't all a psyop. Not everybody is here as a grifter or infiltrator or whatever it is. Like, some of us are real, and we're control whatever. Like, some of us are real, and we're doing this because we want to do this, and this is what we're passionate about. So I feel it's very important to me to, like, maintain that stance and be that figure for anyone who might need it. So
I'm glad you said that too, Tyler, because I know that that's something that you guys both emanate, is your authenticity, and people know that you're coming from that right place. And it is disappointing when people that you have, listened to and they end up being something totally different. And like you said, it is a dark night of the soul, because, that person is someone you really sort of cherished, I guess, in a way, because you got so much from it. And so I think that comes back to as well, that it's important for everyone to be discerning and to, walk in their truth. And then, and that's all we can really do. And I want to honor you guys for doing that, because it radiates through what you guys do. And it's really appreciated and definitely needed always.
Right. Yeah. And then we love meeting people too. Like, it's fun for me. Like, it's overwhelming sometimes at our event when everybody wants to talk to you, but
it's exhausting, but
it's genuinely, like, it's what it's all about, like meeting each other and activating. And like, when we sell our tickets, we took the hierarchy, the class system out of it. It's just one ticket gets all. There's no VIP access. The speakers don't have a green room. They don't have special seats. Everyone is just treated the same.
Awesome.
Yeah. We're all just hanging out together. We're a big family. Yeah.
Yeah. There's no
no separation of like a lot of conferences, you're like, the speakers are literally kept separate from everyone else. And there's like, they'll literally tell you, like Contact in the Desert and other conferences, you cannot hug or touch the speakers. Like, it'll be in their rules.
And they have all this like security and stuff,
and
like
they have security,
TSA level security. And it's like, okay, like, this isn't, where's the love in this? Where's the love in this?
Right. You're like, why? Because that just perpetuates to the celebrity, oh, we're on a pedestal above everyone else, the whole thing. And it's like, no, we're all one family. We're all together in this. Why would we want to separate from everyone? It doesn't make any sense, right? So that's just what we've always been about, is like we're in this together with everyone watching and listening. We love you, and we're all one big family, and we want to hang out and we want to live together, as much as we can, obviously. There's a you have to have boundaries still, and you can, you can only do so much, but we're about connection, and like we're all in this together. It's not about follow me, I'm super special, and gaining followers, and making yourself into this celebrity, or putting yourself on this pedestal, which unfortunately you kind of see that a lot in the community. It's about, hey, we're all teaching each other, we're all helping each other, right? We're all in this together. So that's kind of like our main thing.
And when we choose our speakers for our events, it's very strategic. Mm-hmm. We want, like, everybody's got to be in that heart frequency, that love frequency. Like, it has to be people that we don't just want them there for the information. It's somebody that we want to spend a week with and hang out with and have fun with, and then we can all be a family. Like, because you can bring in somebody from the outside who's in it for the wrong reasons. Like, they want $20,000 to speak at your conference or whatever, which has happened to us. And, those people, it's like, you know what, that's not what we're trying to create here, and it's a family vibe. So everybody, like, in the lineup is very strategically chosen. A lot of times people don't know who they are. They never heard of them, but we know that they're carrying gold, and what they have to say, people need to hear. And when you come to the event and you put in the time and effort to actually make it out and listen to them, there's something, it's going to be amazing for you. I guarantee it, because we're not just like nonchalantly picking these people,
Yeah. Oh, that, well said, guys. That's awesome. And I'm so excited for you. I mean, conference number 5, like, it's just crazy how quick that's gone. So can you remind everyone again where they can get tickets, and also how they can find you and connect with you if they're not already connected?
Yeah. Everything we do is journeytotruth.online.
Yeah.
And that's where it takes you to the conference page. It'll link you off to our Rumble and YouTube and all of our social media accounts, our documentary, our webinars, our Patreon. It's all under one roof right there, journeytotruth.online.
Beautiful. Well, I just want to say thank you, guys, for being here, for being on the 100th episode, and just for everything that you do and share with the world. It is just so awesome. I'm so with you. It's sharing our hearts and everyone coming together and just learning from each other. So thank you for everything that you do, and for being on the show today. And while I do that, actually, I want to thank you at home too for tuning in. Almost forgot. How could I? Thank you for being here as always. So appreciate you. As always, share this with a friend, subscribe, all that sort of fun stuff. Leave a comment. Always love hearing from you. And again, guys, Tyler and Aaron, just thank you so, so much for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you. This was a blast. We appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, guys.